Hey guys, Roku here with another guide for you boys in the top lane. This video is going to cover how to deal with Ignite. I think it's fair to say that we all hate fighting against Ignite, right? Like, it ruins the 1v1, it makes fair champions with counterplay into unkillable monsters, and it also makes champions who are already overpowered basically automatically win the game, which is really annoying when, you know, the four horsemen of the apocalypse already do things like teleport to Ignite, grasp inspiration, spam crow pot on cookies. So like, Ignite on top of all of this is just so annoying to fight because the people who play these champions have so much brain damage that they'd rather the game play itself for them. Before I get sidetracked, let's just get back into the video. How do we deal with Ignite? I'll be breaking down the ways to win, or at the very least survive against champions that tend to take Ignite. I'll be using the match I played as Darius against Ignite Riven as an example, but keep in mind that all these principles work no matter the matchup. You just have to apply them to your specific case. To fight Ignite, we have to understand exactly what Ignite is. Basically speaking, the person with Ignite is at a distinct advantage in the 1v1 because they get guaranteed damage with a true damage and 60% grievous wounds. The true damage is nice, but the grievous wounds is the one that really impacts top laners the most because a lot of top lane champions love healing from like lifesteal, omnivamp, or they have healing in their kit with Darius Q, or they just love to proc conquerors, so Ignite can be quite devastating versus specific champions in the top lane. Think of it as a skill booster, okay? So in the 1v1, the person with Ignite has artificial skill. So in order to beat a champion that relies on Ignite, you have to know the matchup better than them. And not just normal better, you have to be much better. Because remember, they're using a skill booster, so you have to be better than them plus that boost. In order to do this, the first step, and I know this is basic, is to know the abilities of the enemy champion. Know what they do, okay? If you find that you're struggling with a matchup, you go into the wiki, you go into YouTube videos, you know, champion spotlights, or if they're more complicated, go in-depth research to find out what the abilities of those champions are. Learn how Riven combos work. Learn how Fiora's vitals spawn. Learn how Camille's Q works. These things, okay? You don't have to know how to do these things, like go into practice to learn, you know, do these Riven combos. You just have to know what it is, okay? What parts of her kit are used here, alright? You just simply have to learn these so you can better counter them. How things are, the effects, the steroids they get, the ranges of things so you can dodge them. I know this seems like a simple step, but whenever I talk to people and they tell me about matches they struggle with, we get to a point where we realize that the person who's struggling with X matchup knows nothing about this champion. So they're basically fighting someone they know nothing about. I know it sounds stupid, but before you realize you're struggling with a matchup, try your hardest to understand that champion, because you might already be good enough to fight them and beat them. You just don't know the champion well enough. So let's try to think about this with an example, okay? Darius versus Riven. There are numerous things to watch out for, okay? Don't poke her with your Q. Don't pull her in with her E if she has all of her abilities. Don't, you know, try to avoid her Q auto combo because then she just one-shots you. But the most dangerous part of her kit in this matchup isn't her E or her Q, it's her W, okay? Because her W allows for her to stun me, stop me from, you know, pulling her or Wing her. It lets her set up her combos, it lets her set up her Q auto combo, it lets her do her damage and just get out. And the worst part about it is that it's fast, it's instant. It's not like telegraphed like her Q, like it's just, it goes out whenever she wants it, okay? So she can use this ability to outplay me heavily. Okay, so I know this. What is the weakness of this ability? It's low range. It only has a radius of 250 units, or 300 if she's in her ultimate. So the way I can fight this ability is stay out of its range, you know, or just juke back when she's trying to use it on me, okay? And once it's down, I can go for the kill, because without her W, she can't set up her Q combo, okay? If she tries to Q me, I can just stop her with my E, okay? So at this point, she kind of has to just run, alright? So as a summary, you should know the important abilities of the matchup, how they work, their range, how to avoid it, and then try to win trades over and over and over again. And once you win enough trades, the health difference will be substantial enough for you to just go for a kill, even if they have Ignite, okay? I will be releasing a video on how to deal with matchups like Riven, Fiora, Camille, and Irelia as Darius soon, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. This next bit of advice is something that helps top laners in general, but is even more important when you're up against someone with Ignite. And this advice, this tip, is to have a solid understanding of wave management, okay? You can use wave management as a tool to do a lot of things that you just otherwise can't without it. Let's say that, for instance, you're up against a Wukong. Having your wave just outside your turret lets you take solid trades against him, because in order to retaliate, he has to go in on you. And if he does that when you're near your turret, he risks taking turret shots. Or in other cases, you can use your minion wave to set up a massive slow push. So if your enemy fights you while you're slow pushing, they're basically guaranteed to die, okay? I have an example in this match here where I mess up my E, I mess up my Q, but I still win the fight. Why? Because I have a lot of minions built up in this slow push, and I'll do the math while editing, but I think I basically had my minions had a DPS of 200, so my minions dealt 200 damage a second to this Riven, which is basically insane, okay? So having your minions back you up is sometimes very, very important, so understand wave management so you can do your best and basically skew the odds in your favor, so much so that your enemy doesn't even know what they're doing, okay? So yeah, and since you guys are playing in lower elos, these tricks will work even better for you. The simplest and possibly the easiest quote-unquote way to match Ignite is to also take Ignite. Take your own combat summoner. And this is not so simple because it kind of complicates things a bit. Since you're not really countering anything, you are simply making it so that if the enemy later messes up, you can kill them if you're good enough. So if you're playing a champion that you're super confident on, and you are super confident with a matchup, then you can actually take Ignite to sort of match up the all-letting power of the enemy. And if you're better than them, and you both have Ignite, you will just stomp them and completely take over the lane. But this is only the case if you're super confident with your champion. And also, some champions like Darius just cannot take Ignite because he requires Flash and Ghost. Some other champions need Teleport, etc, etc, etc. Okay, so Ignite is not really like the guaranteed option for all champions. The last, but definitely the least exciting way to deal with Ignite is to play it safe. Now, Ignite is coded to get you kills in lane, okay? It's made for early laning, it's made for aggressive laners, and it sucks in teamfights. The later it goes, the less useful Ignite becomes. So, if you're Flash Teleport against Flash Ignite, simply surviving lane is kind of your win condition, because you have 2 summoner spells for later on into the game, whereas they just have Flash. And Ignite, which is only kind of useful, whereas Teleport lets you split push and do way more than just Ignite. So, try to understand that sometimes you're not good enough to beat the enemy. Sometimes Ignite is too much for you to deal with. Sometimes you just can't win trades, you can't one them, so it's better to just cut your losses, play it safe, and make sure you don't lose too much gold so that you can kind of just bounce back later on with the superior summoner spells that you have. Alright guys, that is pretty much it for this video. Be sure to check out my Know Your Enemy playlist in order to know how to beat Darius' toughest matchups.